Live.
A very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dithmini De Silva. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
President tables IMF agreement in Parliament. Is the IMF bailout the only solution to the crisis? FSP questions from the government. Opposition leader says IT-based exports necessary to uplift the country. University teachers decided to engage in paper marking. Decision on strike action to be made after talks with President. Death toll rises after earthquake hits Afghanistan and Pakistan.
In your top story, Sri Lanka's president tabled the agreement reached with the International Monetary Fund in Parliament on Wednesday. The head of state also made a special statement on the $3 billion IMF bailout package for Sri Lanka.
There
are those who term an extended fund facility as another loan with high interest rates. There are others who claim this loan will not be sufficient to alleviate the country from its debt burden. Such statements depict their ignorance or their attempts to mislead the public through deception. The IMF Extended Fund Facility is a facility that is provided to a country to rise up again. The facility has once again given us international acceptance. It gives us an assurance that Sri Lanka is no longer a bankrupt nation. This will create a new financial culture and anti-corruption environment. Before the IMF decided on Sri Lanka, some attempted to completely create a dysfunctional state. They tried to launch continuous strikes, sabotage the economy and lead the country towards a state of anarchy. They wanted to prevent IMF supporting Sri Lanka through acts of sabotage. Certain political groups, trade unions, media were involved in this. They said the IMF will not support Sri Lanka due to instability. They said the IMF will not support Sri Lanka due to the delay in local government elections. Such misleading statements were used to incite the public. However, a majority of the public were not in favor of sabotaging the country's future for mere political objectives. They acted with responsibility.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe called on the Parliament to accept the IMF report, and if any issues arise, those matters can be taken up with the IMF.
I can only speak with the creditors, both bilateral creditors, multilateral creditors and the private bondholders, if the Parliament is prepared to accept the IMF report. So I urge this House to accept the report. If you have any issues, you can talk it over with the IMF when they come back. That's all I am asking. I am not getting into a debate. This is the request that I have made.
Honourable Speaker, I think the Honourable President should understand you have presented the report and you have made a presentation in Parliament. Just because you present a statement and a report in Parliament, we cannot agree without proper examination and scrutiny and proper parliamentary debate. So what we are proposing is, let's go ahead with the debate, and I would very humbly request Honourable President to remain in Parliament and listen to the progressive and constructive proposals that we have, take cognizance of it, and then at the end of the day we can agree on things that we can agree, and we part ways on issues we cannot agree. It's simple as that. It's called practical politics. It's called pragmatism. Let's do that. Yeah. We are not willing, just because the President makes a statement, to approve anything willy-nilly without proper scrutiny and examination.
That's good. That's correct. Thank you. We start the debate, Honourable Speaker. I think there's enough time till 3rd week of May. And if the National Council wants, 3rd week of April, I will also meet them. I'll have my officials to meet them. But at the end of the day, there's only one issue. Do you approve the report or not? I can't force everyone to accept the report. They may find reason not to support it. But then I have to know, world has to know where we stand, and we will ask for a vote by name. And that's all. You vote whichever way you want. We are not forcing anyone to say, but If I don't get it, I can't go and continue the second round of negotiation. That's all I have said. I am not trying to force you all. I am only asking you, give me a reply one way or other by the third week of April, whether you want it or not. So you all explain that, and there are no need for me to be in this house. I have to do other work on the negotiation. But the rest of them are there. The two state ministers took part in all the negotiations. The foreign minister was there, prime minister knows. There are other ministers, so I think we will leave it to them, the Minister of Energy, who are involved. So I think they are as good as me to answer. In fact, they have been spending more time with them than I have, so they'll answer more questions than I do.
I think, Mr. Speaker, I don't think there is a disagreement between the President and those MPs on that side of the aisle and us in the opposition. We are fully equipped to take up the challenge of the government, right, to commence the debate right now, but I would respectfully request we commence the debate after the questions, because I have a very poignant question to ask regarding the divestiture of shares of profitable government institutions. Yes. So after the questions, we'll commence the debate. Yes, and it was only a humble request for Honorable President to remain, if possible, in Parliament, so that he could take due recognition himself, not these bogus representatives of his who were anti-IMF. Yes. They were the people who were talking about boycotting IMF. They were the people who were saying IMF is a deshadrohi.
So that's enough. You take it up at the debate. So let's go ahead with the questions.
So I mean,
to start the debate soon.
I am very much okay with exchanging ideas with a pro-IMF president.
Yes, very good.
But the pro-IMF president.
Oh, Sabhanayakatuma.
The pro-IMF president.
No, that is enough. So you can take it up at the debate.
During his special statement to Parliament, the President also commented on revenue.
When the Minister of Justice puts the draft, the bill, when he puts the bill, kindly study it and look at what are the amendments that we can all agree on. But it has to satisfy the UN resolution on anti-corruption. I think that is about the best standards we can use. So the members of that members there is being appointed by the Constitutional Council. At the moment, you have to now select some people for the bribery commission. Unlike earlier times when the President selected them and sent them for approval, now the Council has to select them and send them to me. I will appoint them. So you all have now taken the responsibility, the Parliament, of appointing the people who will now go into this issue and not the President. So everything is, the ball is in the Parliament's court.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe commented on the appointment of members to the Bribery Commission.
When the Minister of Justice puts the draft, the bill, when he puts the bill, kindly study it and look at what are the amendments that we can all agree on. But it has to satisfy the UN resolution on anti-corruption. I think that is about the best standards we can use. So the members of that members there is being appointed by the Constitutional Council. At the moment, you have to now select some people for the bribery commission. Unlike earlier times when the President selected them and sent them for approval, now the Council has to select them and send them to me. I will appoint them. So you all have now taken the responsibility, the Parliament, of appointing the people who will now go into this issue and not the President. So everything is, the ball is in the Parliament's court.
The central bank governor told Bloomberg that the IMF loan designed will lower market rates as fiscal support.
To Bloomberg, Governor Nandalal Veerasinghe said Sri Lanka's bailout by the International Monetary Fund will help the bankrupt nation lower its borrowing costs, thanks in part to a change in how the cash can be used. He said that Washington-based lenders for the first time will allow Sri Lanka to use funds from the $3 billion bailout to cover government spending.
Is the IMF the only solution to the economic crisis the country is facing? Education Secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party Pubudu Jayagoda expressed his views on the matter at a media briefing held on Wednesday.
While there were many options, they said the only solution to the severe foreign exchange crisis in Sri Lanka was seeking IMF assistance. For example, the country has lost a large amount of dollars through overestimates and underestimates in invoicing during the import-export process. They can be recovered legally through a court decision. According to a report issued by Global Financing Integrity based in USA, a handful of businessmen have kept nearly $60 billion outside the country. If you at least bring down 10% of it, the country will get $6 billion. The statement issued by Kristalina Georgieva states deep reforms are required in the institutional and governance structures. This also includes the bill to destroy the central bank. Even if the IMF has the right to impose on financial institutions, how does the managing director of the IMF have the power to propose reforms related to governance?
The public and semi-government trade unions organised a press conference yesterday in Colombo and explained the consequences of the IMF proposals.
The Mahinda Rajapaksa government bankrupted this country. They even declared bankruptcy. It was Bandula Gunawardena who said they were bankrupt without any shame. As of now, the electricity bill has been increased according to IMF proposals and the people cannot afford it. Also, we saw that after discussing taxes with the president of the country asked people to go and talk with the IMF. Therefore, everything is done as per the wishes of the IMF. But we have to say one thing. Tell us which country developed in the world by following the proposals of the IMF. This government is preparing to sell this country's assets. The social economy is going to be completely destroyed. So the government keeps promoting the fact that with the IMF help, the country is doing fine. All the burning issues have been solved by now and the people of the country are getting food and water and everything is going to be alright. People cannot bear any of this. They don't even have any means of keeping the people of this country alive.
IMF යෝජනාව ඇතුළෙම ඉතා පැහැදිලිව තියෙනවා.
In the IMF proposal, it is very clear that the low-income earning government employees should be given some allowance. Then, if only the decisions favorable to the government have been implemented so far, we say that the working people of this country should be given a monthly allowance of 20,000 rupees.
වැඩ කරන ජනතාවට රුපියල් 20,000ක මාසික දීමනාවක් දෙන්න කියලා.
University teachers who stepped away from examination-related activities to oppose the government's tax regime that was increased based on IMF proposals have decided to commence paper marking activities. However, no decision was reached on suspending the ongoing strike by the university teachers. Spokesperson for the Federation of University Teachers Association, Charudatta Ilangasinghe, told Newsfirst that a final decision will be reached following talks with the president. The trade union action, which the Ceylon Electricity Board Engineers Union began against the unfair tax policies of the government and the restructuring process of the CEB concluded yesterday. The employees of the Water Supply Board have planned to go on strike again tomorrow as their demands were not met. The Secretary of the Joint Trade Union Alliance of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, Upali Ratnayaka, said that the trade union action, which has been ongoing since the 13th, will continue.
Sri Lanka's opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that if the country is to rise up from its present position, an IT-based export drive is required. He was speaking at a meeting in Obesekarapura on Tuesday.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa graced a meeting of the Samakijana Balawegaya in Obesekarapura. MP Dr. Harsha De Silva and former MP Hirunika Premachandra were also present.
The reason for the dollar crisis is the low number of exports. We are not generating employment opportunities. Why is that? It is because we do not have a market open to the world. Take Tamil Nadu in India. The top global firms are opening factories in Chennai. That is because they are open to the world. We have surrounded ourselves with a wall. Our country was never bankrupt. We need to think differently if we are to overcome this crisis. We need change as a nation. No one is going to give us the resources on a platter. We need to compete for it. We need to be smart in the smart world. we need to move towards IT-based exports, that is digital exports. However, for that, we need to have a population skilled in IT. The SJB is ready to take up this challenge to convert Sri Lanka into a digital hub.
ඒ මහා දැවැන්ත සිහිනය සැබෑ කරවීමේ වගකීම සමගි ජනබලවේගයේ බාර ගන්න සූදානම්.
World Water Day is marked today. It is an annual United Nations commemoration held on the 22nd of March that emphasizes the importance of clean water. Accelerating change is the theme for World Water Day 2023.
World Water Day was first celebrated in 1993 following the announcement of a decision taken by the United Nations conference held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. Water is a vital source of life, but less than 1% of it is drinkable despite covering 3/4 of the earth. The UN reports that over 1.4 million worldwide die annually from drinking contaminated water. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board in Sri Lanka is working to provide clean drinking water to the country's population, currently serving 62% with plans to increase to 100% by 2025.
2023, the people living in the Batalangundu island are facing serious issues in accessing clean drinking water. Batalangundu island is located off the northwestern coast of Sri Lanka and belongs to the Puttlam district. The Batalangundu island is home to around 400 families and a majority of them are fishermen. For the people living in the Batalangundu island, the only way to access water is to dig deep into the ground. Even if they dig deep holes in the ground, water is obtained very rarely. Therefore, the people of Batalangundu island have been forced to walk for miles in search of water. The locals know that although officials promised to solve the issue, it was limited to mere words. These people only request for access to clean drinking water. While the country faces many socio-economic issues, Sri Lanka's farming community are in dire straits due to various issues. Farmers in many parts of the island are still suffering due to the lack of a fixed price for their crops. Farmers in Tambuttegama in Anuradhapura have already begun harvesting. These farmers say that there are more weeds than the paddy harvest as they began cultivation amidst the fuel and fertilizer crisis. Farmers are left helpless as they are not paid a proper price for their harvest, which they did incurring a very high cost. Farmers in the Muruthavala agrarian community in the Hambantota district began cultivating the paddy lands in Udayala Veerakatiya and Angunakola Palassa. Farmers say that there is no fixed price paid for the crops, while the production cost is also high. With the aim of helping our fellow Sri Lankans and empowering the children, Day 5 of the 4th phase of Divisavya began today. The program centered around the Kandy district today.
Exercise books and other stationery are distributed among school children under the Divisavya program. This initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education. Earlier today, school books and stationery were distributed to students attending the Ihakatiya Primary School in the Kandy district. Students of the Baulana Primary School in Kandy also received new school books and other items as part of the Divisavya program. Meanwhile, exercise books and school equipment were also contributed to the children of Al Akbar Muslim College in the Kandy district this morning.
A cultural show organized for the first time under the annual Uturinegam project, which loosely translates to a project for reconciliation between Ananda College Colombo and Hindu College Jaffna, was held at the Apegama premises on Tuesday.
The chief guests for the event were all Anandians, Vijayaratna Varakagoda and Jananath Varakagoda. The group, including principals and presidents of the All Boys Association of the two schools, were also present at the event. The event showcased the various talents of the students of Ananda College Colombo and Hindu College Jaffna. The performances by the students of Hindu College Jaffna was headed by the Ranwala Brigade led by Sahan Raniwala. The MTV Media Network, including Sirasa TV and Shakti TV, is the media sponsor for this year's Uttarin Nagam project.
An event to mark World Puppetry Day on the 21st of March was held at the Kamath area of the BMICH.
It was organized by the Department of Cultural Affairs. Several groups from Balanguda held puppet shows, while State Minister Vidura Vikramanayake was also present at the event.
The International Monetary Fund says it has reached a staff-level agreement with Ukraine on funding worth $15.6 billion.
The organization's first loan to a country at war is expected to be approved in the coming weeks. It would also be one of the largest financing packages Ukraine has received since Russia's invasion. The IMF recently changed the rule to allow loans to countries facing exceptionally high uncertainty. The IMF expects Ukraine's economy to record a slight contraction or growth this year. Ukrainian Prime Minister said, quote, "The funding will help the country finance all critical expenditure and ensure macroeconomic stability and strengthen our interaction with other international partners," end quote. The US is IMF's largest shareholder and the biggest contributor to Ukraine in terms of money spent.
At least 11 people have been killed and hundreds injured after magnitude 6.5 earthquake hit areas across Afghanistan and Pakistan, with tremors felt as far as the Indian capital, New Delhi.
United States Geological Survey said on Tuesday the earthquake's epicenter was 40 kilometers south-southeast of Afghan town Jom, near the borders with Pakistan and Tajikistan. The tremor was felt in the Afghan capital Kabul as well as a number of Pakistani cities including Islamabad and Lahore. A spokesperson for Pakistan's Rescue 1122 service in the northwest of the country and other officials told the Associated Press news agency that 9 people were killed when roofs collapsed in various parts of northwestern Pakistan. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif asked the country's disaster management officials to remain vigilant in the aftermath of the earthquake.
That's a wrap of the Lunchtime News. Join us again at 9 p.m. for Primetime News on TV1.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන් දත්ත වැඩියෙන් සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කළඹන වුවත් සලකුණ News First YouTube channel එක අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග.
News First News Alert ඔබේ ජංගම දුරකථනයටත් ඔබ ඩයිලොග් පාරිභෝගිකයෙක් නම් English Alert සේවාව ලබා ගැනීමට NFU ලෙසත් Singlish Alert සේවාව ලබා ගැනීමට NUS ලෙසත් Tanglish Alert සේවාව ලබා ගැනීමට NAT ලෙසත් ටයිප් කර 678ට send කරන්න.
News First